Now, it's one thing to be able to draw lines and circles, but it's another to draw them accurately. O-snaps are one of the key features in AutoCAD that enable us to be able to draw with precise and exact accuracy. O-snap is short for object snap. They force you to automatically draw from a specific point on an object. We've used several of them already, like endpoint, midpoint, or center, or even the nodes. But I just want to make sure that you get an introduction to them, as well as some of the other methods of drafting that we have. So pressing the F3 button will toggle on what's called your running O-snaps. It'll toggle them on and off. By running, I mean that they are on or always running, kind of like your refrigerator is running. So if you type in OS on the command line, press enter, that will bring you to your drafting settings window. Make sure you go to the Object Snap tab. Now if you press F3, that will automatically turn on or toggle on your running O-snaps. Now, what I typically do is I select all of them because I want all of them on, but I will turn off the parallel and the nearest. I turn that off because the nearest O-snap will snap to whatever nearest location of the object is that it can find according to where your mouse cursor is at. Well, I don't want that. Sometimes I do, but if I do, then I'll just manually override it and force the nearest O-snap. The other one I turn off is parallel. I do that because drawing parallel lines with the O-snap is extremely difficult to do. It can be done, but it can be difficult at the same time. And typically, if I need a parallel line, I'll use the offset command to create a parallel line. So this is what I do. Click OK. Let's draw a rectangle here real quickly so we have something to snap to. I'm going to create a circle. Let's type in C, then enter. And I want to draw the center of this circle at the end of this box right here. So you can see my O-snaps are running. I pressed F3, and it will tell you in the command line if they're on or off. Also note, you can find them here on your status bar. You can click this to toggle them on and off. Remember, blue is on, gray is off. And you can also get to the settings right here to turn them off or on. So if I click on the arrow, I can say, yes, I want these to run, and no, others I don't want to run. Or you can get to your object snap settings by clicking on there as well. So I've clicked here for my center point. So now I'm going to draw my circle to the midpoint of that line. It was very quick, very easy. I drew exactly what I wanted to do and at an exact location without having to do anything else. That's what O-snaps will give you, and that's what running O-snaps will give you. So let's draw a circle again, similarly on this side. But let's say I want something a little different. If I right-click and hold for my shortcut menu, I can get to all of my O-snaps right here. These are my snap overrides. Any one of these that I pick, let's say endpoint, will automatically override all of my running O-snaps. So regardless of what I have turned on or off, when I pick that from my menu, or if I manually type in the specific O-snap I want, that's the only one that's going to work. So now I can't go to my midpoint, I can't go to the center, I can't go to a tangent or anything. I can only go to an endpoint. Let's take a look at what all of the O-snap options are. So I have endpoint. And if you don't remember what they do, just open this up, move your mouse over, and the tooltip will come up and it will show you what that object snap will do. So this is an endpoint. It snaps to the end of a line or an arc or polyline, etc. The midpoint will snap to the middle portion, the exact middle of an object. Center will take you to the center of a circle, an arc, or an ellipse. The node will take you to a point object. A couple of typical ones will be the points, or it will be the definition point of a dimension. A definition point of a dimension is the point that is being dimensioned from. It puts a little node there, and you can snap to that. The quadrant will take you to the quadrant of an arc or circle or ellipse. Let me show you what that one looks like. So I want to draw a line from the quadrant of this circle right here. It gives you a little diamond glyph. Each one of these O-snaps has its own looking glyph. Eventually, once you use them a lot, you will get to recognize them and know what they are automatically. Also, if I hold it there long enough, a little tooltip will come up, like it says here, quadrant. Say, hey, you're at the quadrant. So if you're not sure if it's at the right, just hold it there, wait a second or two, say, oh yes, it's definitely a quadrant. And it picks that quadrant. So it's essentially these corner pieces, if you can imagine a circle having a corner, points of a compass, so to speak: north, south, east, and west. It works very similarly to an ellipse. It will take me to the quadrant point, and it's not the exact top point, but it's the exact quadrant point from the center. So this is actually offset just a little bit, so you can kind of see that. So that's the quadrant. The intersection is where two objects will intersect each other. So that one's very obvious. Now an extension causes, as it says here, I'm just going to read it, temporary extension line or arc to be displayed, and you can go along that pathway. So if I want to go to the extension, I just kind of go to the end of it and just kind of stretch it. You can see that that goes right there. So that's a great way to extend a line that isn't there, but you know you want to go along that pathway to pick a point. Those are kind of tricky, and you gotta be a little bit delicate and slow with it, but it can be very useful and reduce work because it means you are not drawing construction lines. The insertion point works with blocks and other things like that that have a point that defines the main point of that object. Perpendicular, very straightforward here. It will draw your line perpendicular to the selected line. Tangent's very similar. It will draw it tangent to that circle or arc. And the nearest, wherever you're closest to on that object when you pick it, that's where it's going to go to. So let me show you. If I want to draw a line somewhere across here, I don't want the midpoint, I don't want the endpoint. I just need it near, NEA. I just need it to be on this line. And there it is. Apparent intersection, that's where two objects would intersect, but they're not physically drawn there. So maybe the lines or arcs are just a little bit short, but if you continued them on, they would eventually intersect each other, but they really don't. And you can use that to find that point. Parallel, you select an object and then you pick a point and it will automatically draw it parallel to that point as well. Now, if you use these methods of using your running object snaps and then your object snapped overrides, either by manually typing them in or by using your shortcut menu, you'll be able to draw more quickly and more accurately.